point. Okay, so firstly, what's meant by this stagnation, and then how is it drawn from this insistence on equality of skill or merit and so on?
Well, okay, so to go back to that insistence, it comes from something that's true originally, and it's just over extrapolated, right? The thing that's true is that, we're all born here and none of us is better than anybody else. And we're all equivalent to each other in some way, right? There, but for the grace of God go I kind of realization, right? Um, but that doesn't mean you can't make bad choices. And that doesn't mean that, in fact, okay. See, when you start talking about spiritual stuff, um, let me just, when you start talking about spiritual stuff, you almost can't say anything because even what I just said is not actually true. That you can't, of course, you can't make bad choices. It's actually not possible to make bad choices. But if you go to the world of human beings just trying to do human being life stuff, then you can make bad choices, right? So um, we somehow have a society where we kind of want to think that that's not true. Like if somebody ends up in an unfortunate place, it's because of the forces that were acting on them, right? They were underprivileged and had a bad, you know, fell into the undertow of society, whatever, right? And all that is true to some degree. But at the same time, if we don't have this idea that people are also responsible for themselves, there's no energy to go to a good place that comes from anywhere, right? So if you want to go to a good place, there are some attitudes that are much more conducive to that than other attitudes. And I think we've got some attitudes that don't help. And, personally, I see this at all levels of society. So like if you look at people who are the experts in various things or who are the societally designated experts, like the people who have the degrees, the people who have the positions in government and whatever, I don't think most of those people are very good at what they do. There are occasional outliers, right? But for the most part, it's just we set up a system of how do you rise in the ranks of these various things. Those systems were founded originally in ways that were functional, like originally having a PhD was a really big deal, right? Now it's, well, and when we set up that system, it was a system to help with that kind of learning and discovery of new knowledge. Now, getting a PhD is basically filling out a tax form, but it takes 4 or 5 years. Not for everybody. Some people do PhDs that are actually closer to the spirit of what the original thing was. But we've kind of slowly over time replaced the original thing with this other thing that is actually quite different, right? And produces different output.